I built everything that you're about to see in this Vox-Style animation using Fable 5 and HyperFrames to see how it would do. This is what it looks like. Running a creative operation used to mean building a whole department. Salaries, desk, job titles. That was the cost of getting anything out the door. A strategist, a writer and a designer, an editor, an analyst. 5 roles just to keep the thing moving. That org chart is collapsing. Every role still exists. One person figured out how to hold all of them. Around that one person, a team fans out. Agents, each one built and directed by the same person who does the thinking. Each agent owns exactly one skill, compartmentalized. Research, writing, design, editing, analysis. Everyone holding its own lane, clear of the others. And they get better on their own. Every run teaches something new. They keep sharpening on their own time, and they train themselves. The person at the center conducts the work, hands off, eyes on everything, and the work flows out from there. You're hiring differently. One person carrying the whole operation. The work stays, who does it shifts. So we started first with the voice, and the narration, it was written before any pixels was created. The timeline is audio locked, and the words, they own the clock, meaning the voiceover itself was what was going to dictate our animations. So if you said agent, then you would see an animation of the word agent or maybe an illustration of the word agent, whatever the case is. We started with writing out our script or picking a subject matter. So this subject matter, I tried to relate it something to an agent or AI since you're watching this type of video. I chose Opus. Afterwards, we had Sonnet 5 revise what Opus wrote, and then Opus, it implemented what Sonnet gave it feedback on. So over here on this right side, you can see that these are notes that Sonnet gave to Opus. This was all orchestrated through a main session agent, okay? So if you don't know what your main session, which is whenever you're in Cloud Code, that is your main session. Whenever you click on new chat, you're now in a session. And that session I use as an orchestrator. So with the orchestrator, we told it to spawn a Opus 4.6 scriptwriter, then a Sonnet 5 reviser in order to revise that in Opus 4.6 to implement that revision. So this is separate models in separate session so that nobody reviews their own work and there's no bias. Because if you try to have models review their own work in the same sessions, the model is typically biased towards its own work. It's going to say, yeah, I did a good job. It's like asking a video editor to revise their own work after they had just finished their own work. They're going to be very biased towards it. That's the same thinking that we applied here. And so we can see that the rewrite, it deleted one of the 5 rules, but then the animation, it shows 5 cards instead. And the checklist, it compares words against visuals after every rewrite, and it caught it. So the third step is the storyboard. It's basically one table, what's said, what's seen, and how it moves. It's very simple. So this is said, this is what's seen, and this is what is moved. So every single narration line, it gets a row, and the words, it drives the visuals one to one. Each row also picks its imagery. It uses, in each row, it picks its imagery. It's either a real photo texture or a clean flat shape, either one of the two. The rule that came out of it is the past, it gets old photos and textures, whereas the AI era, it gets clean flat graphics. That way, you can see which era that you're in without a single word. The next step is the paper asset. It was a 1965 ink dot type of style. Up here, you can see it's my face with a halftone badge and it's baked by a script. There's no filters at runtime. Then we have our archival office objects, which is this telephone, this typewriter, and this cabinet. Is generated on a white halftone cutout. Well, we created 4 different objects, but right down here, you can see that the filing object, it came out a little bit of an abstract blob. It's kind of hard to see. So we decided to take that out, leave that out. And what we learned is you want to generate more than you need, and you take what works from the survivors after assessment. At least this is what the agent did. We're just looking at the back end. And in the first render, it was an 84-second rendered. In 43-second, there was a blank page in which the render didn't notice, but the agent eventually did. So it fixed that on the back end. And so whenever it was doing a transition from one scene to another, it would just look really odd and very jarring. In this case, it used a wipe in order to cover and transition to the next scene. That way it wouldn't be jumpy or look jarring. Step 6 was our research versus our taste. So there's a difference between what we research and what we see as a result of the output. And in this 2 videos here, I'm going to show you that the left side was the one that Cloud Code researched up and found and tried to copy. But then the right side was more so of my taste. I wanted a more smooth type of feel rather than that jumpy, jarring feel. According to our research, it said that Vox typically makes these animations, and according to their producers, tutorials, and breakdowns, they use this very stuttery look, 12 frames per second, as I mentioned. But it felt a little bit too stiff, too robotic for me. And so from there, I made a stylistic choice. We are going to make it a little bit smoother, a bit slower, and softer. That way, it just, overall, I like that type of look a lot better than the jarring jump. The next step was recording our voiceover. It was all in one take, but I did mess up at one part, which was then later found by our agent, Fable 5, using a word timestamp. So we recorded it, and when we messed up, we said reset. And this allows us to use that as a trigger word, so that once I told Fable 5, here's the voice recording, but I messed up the part that I messed up, I said reset on, and I said the whole line again. It's able to quickly scan through, transcribe my voiceover, and locate where I messed up from there. Because this ended up being a 63 animation anchor retimed to our spoken voiceover. And the thing is, originally, whenever I created this animation, we created the animation first, and then we did the voiceover rather than doing the voiceover and then creating the animation from there. The key here was that I wanted to see what the animation looked like before I did the voiceover. That way we can adjust it, because the agent can quickly adjust our animation according to our voiceover. This, of course, does burn a little bit more tokens on retiming the voice, but it was a trade that I was willing to take. Okay, step 8 was blending in the frames. There was one frame that I felt was a little bit weird. It was a little boring, dull. I just didn't like it. So I asked Fable to go ahead and generate me 5 different suggestions on how we could change up the animations in order to fit what we're writing about. It gave me 5. I narrowed it down to these 2 right here, the paper crush and the orbit capture. And between these 2, I was pretty torn. I had to watch it quite a few times to decide which one I ultimately wanted to go with. As you saw in the video originally, I went with option B, which is the orbit capture. I just felt that that encapsulated more of the idea that it broke down from structure and now it's surrounding a person. Although, you know, either one would have been cool as well. I just like the orbit one a little bit better. The next piece is the sound. And this is where sound design is very important in any type of animation. It's what gives the animation life, right? So I knew that I wanted sound design. Well, originally when I had Fable 5 go through and do the sound design. It was okay. It wasn't amazing. It was okay. But there were some sounds in it that just didn't sound right, like this one here. Play the sound effect. Play the band blip. And so I felt that it was off. It didn't sound right. It didn't sound good either. So we had Fable go look through our entire sound library to see what it can be replaced with. It created this HTML page, which Fable 5, go ahead and show the HTML page with the different options and the sound design. So I'll play it on this page here. I went through and listened to each sound, and even then I felt like it didn't sound correct. So I had to go out on the internet, pick up some new sound effects, and while I did that, I was like, wait, why don't we just enhance and upgrade the rest of our sound library so that it's a little bit more in line? So it went out and did just that, and it found there of the sound effects that I decided to go with, which is this one, the duck bell, that one, and a paper wipe. So we did this for about 3 rounds and ended up picking the sounds that sounded a lot more on brand with what we wanted to do. And I found that one of the issues, the sound effects were a little bit loud and they were competing with our voiceover. And so we just told it to dial it down a little bit. It ended up dialing it by 4 dBs, 4 decibels across the board. And after that, it was good. But that wasn't finished just yet because I noticed that the voice, it sounded a bit too raw. So there was one last step that we had to do. From what I understand and know about these agents, there's no actual AI voice editing. They can adjust the decibels, which is what it typically goes by, but it's very formulaic. On the other hand, I use DaVinci Resolve, and one of the features that DaVinci Resolve has is this AI voice assistant tool. So I went ahead and told Fable 5 to upload all the footage, the original footage, the voiceover, the sound effects, and the background music onto a timeline in DaVinci Resolve. And then we added the AI voice assistant within it. From there, it fixed everything so that it differentiated each layer, and it did some audio editing as well, audio engineering as well through our animation. And that way it sounded a lot better. So we did that, but there was no way that you could do it agentically or automatically. So I did it manually at first. And once I understood how to do it, which is just clicking a bunch of buttons, right? Now we can automate it. So I went ahead and said, this is how you do it the very next time. I created a skill, which then automated this function, which is of turning on audio editing. And we could always use this skill from the future on now for anything, not just for animation audio engineering, but any type of footage in the future. After that, I had to test the skill to see whether it would do it correctly or not, which it did do it correctly. And so at this point, we're done. That is the whole entire animation. That is how I created the animations, this Vox-Style animation. Simply put, it's not that hard to create a Vox-Style animation if you can understand how it's done. Especially if you see someone else is able to do it, you can basically replicate it. Every single piece of animation that people do is basically code. Every single editing tool that you see is built by code. So if it's built by code, it can be read by an agent, which is naturally understands code. And this is the reason why I wanted to make this video, is explain hard things and simplify it in such a way that anyone could understand it. For my videos especially, I wanted to take sophisticated ideas and make it easy to understand in my own videos. The skills to animate things, it used to cost hundreds of dollars and hundreds of hours to learn. But now it's about the direction and the taste. Everything that you watch here, it gets built the same way. As long as you know how to direct your agent, point it at something, then it can build it for you. Running a creative operation used to mean building a whole department. Salaries, desk, job titles. That was the cost of getting anything out the door. A strategist, a writer and a designer, an editor, an analyst. 5 roles just to keep the thing moving. That org chart is collapsing. Every role still exists. One person figured out how to hold all of them. Around that one person, a team fans out. Agents, each one built and directed by the same person who does the thinking. Each agent owns exactly one skill, compartmentalized. Research, writing, design, editing, analysis. everyone holding its own lane, clear of the others. And they get better on their own. Every run teaches something new. They keep sharpening on their own time, and they train themselves. The person at the center conducts the work, hands off, eyes on everything, and the work flows out from there. You're hiring differently. One person carrying the whole operation. The work stays, who does it shifts.